down in this area here. Oh, sorry. We were just looking at a chart here. We're looking at week 2 of the Water World class, and I wanted to just make a couple of comments for you. Obviously, we've assigned you a bunch of different, what would be called sort of short case studies that are kind of there to inform you. If you are already familiar with these topics, you can skim them over, but that give you some idea of the range and breadth, and also the discussions that are going on different types of issues that are related to coastal and ocean futures. All of these deal with a condition, the reefs, and so on, but then the concern is, or the discussion is about the future, 5 years from now or 20 years from now, or what I prefer, which is to try and think big and think to 2050. So as you go through these, and you've got the syllabus here from our class for that week, and you can see that we've got Sylvia Earle, a very nice video in which she describes the condition of the oceans now, and it serves as a very interesting, chilling example of what we should be thinking about. There are, in the PDF file that's next, there are a whole bunch of very interesting case studies, and one of the things I'd like you to do is to select a couple of those and review them in one of the discussion postings. And then we do coral reefs. We talk about the issue of basically limiting the trading of fish, and the fact that this was rejected at the latest meeting on this issue, and that talks a lot about how difficult policies are when you try to deal with things like endangered species. And then there's one on the barrier reef, another one which is an interesting little kind of video discussion, or it's actually a website about New York City by 2050, and how can New York adapt to potentially happening then? And then there are a couple of other things that you can look at that I think you'll find fairly interesting and fairly useful. So basically what we've done is put together a little package of things, the last one of which is another documentary about life after people, which those things, of course, are speculative and raise a lot of provocative questions. On the issue of the barrier reef, for example, if you want to project reefs and the barrier reef in particular, you may have seen that a Chinese coal-carrying ship this week ran aground on the barrier reef, and this poses a huge problem because that ship has been dumping 3 tons of oil on basically the Great Barrier Reef, and this constitutes an enormous problem for that ecosystem. Could you have predicted this? Yes, no. How do we project forward towards the next 25 or 40 years in terms of these sorts of problems? And then there are a bunch of other things that we laid out for you in this week. And we have at the end of the week down here at the bottom an essay question for you to deal with. So your mission this week is to inform yourselves quickly about all of these different topics. And I know there are a lot of topics, but folks, we're in an accelerated class. We need to get through this thing in 4 weeks. We need to at least honor the idea that this is a full semester course. And I urge you to take a little bit of time, out of your schedule and go in and do these things. Please don't just, say I'm too busy and then kind of do it at the last minute. And what I'd like you to get out of this is, how do people present information about fishing, about endangered species, about rising sea levels and urban areas, and meta huge futuristic ideas about the world? How do they reach these conclusions? How does the History Channel create these documentaries? Is it based on fiction? Is it based on science, what are their tools for projecting when they do some of these forecasting, and use that as an example of what to think about when you're doing your own piece in this class on projecting the future. Remember, policymakers are highly dependent on people like us to tell them, this is a problem, and number two, this is where we think this problem is going to end up in the next 20 or 50 years. And so policymakers have to have individuals who are informed and who are, let's call it, sophisticated in sifting through material and looking at paradigms about the future that make sense and that have at least a certain amount of reliability. I'm enjoying your discussions, and let's get to work. Bye-bye.